Hello, hello, my dear health seeker. Inge from Health Origins here. So tonight I've got a super exciting recipe. It's lemon curd tartlets. So I've made these a few times. They were a hit with my parents-in-law. We love them. And when I shared the recipe and the pictures on my Health Origins Facebook page, on my Instagram, it was a hit too. People wanted to know how to make them, so there we go. There's the recipe I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, and how the step-by-step how to make them. And the recipe is from Whole Grain Vegan Baking Book. So let's begin. So there we have the ingredients, guys. Right, so I've doubled this recipe, right? So in the description, I'm gonna add the recipe halved, but for this double recipe, what you're gonna need is 1.5 cups of whole grain fine flour. So I'm using Dove's kind of flour made from softer wheat varieties. Then I've got a cup of soaked cashews. So you need to soak them for either overnight or at least 3 hours, or in my example here, if you are strapped for time, you can pour boiling water on your cashews and it only takes half an hour. Then I've got 1/2 cup of raw cashews here. I've got 2 tablespoons of arrowroot that I'm using, but you can also use 4 tablespoons of cornstarch or 4 tablespoons of tapioca starch. I've got some water here. I don't know whether I'll need to use it. It's more to make a slurry with cornstarch, really, so we're probably not going to use it. I've got the 2/3 of a cup of water here. I've got some salt. I've got 1.5 cups of maple syrup, some extra maple syrup for the crust. I'll need 4 tablespoons, and then I've got 1.5 cups of lemon juice as well. So 1.5 cups of maple syrup and 1.5 cups of lemon juice. So I used juice from about 6 lemons, so you'll probably need about 3 big lemons for half the recipe. Okay, so that is it. So we start, so move that around. We start by basically adding the flour and the cashews to the food processor. So the flour, the raw cashews, and a good pinch of salt. So this is a double recipe, so I'll put a couple of good pinches of salt, because it just brings out the sweetness. And we're gonna need to close that food processor off now and pulse it until the cashews are ground fine. So let's process it. So let's check this. Yeah, it looks like pretty fine crumb to me. So now I can drizzle in 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, and we're replacing the oil, because it was in the original recipe there was some coconut oil, but I'm going to replace that with just plain water. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, and we'll put a couple of tablespoons of water as well, and then we'll see if we need to add any more. basically the dough needs to start sticking together, and it's not yet, so I'm gonna add another couple of tablespoons of water here. Right, so you can see it's getting there. It's definitely becoming sticky, and in fact I think that will be good because you don't want it too wet either. It's sticking together quite well, and I think we can form the crusts quite well now. So I've got the dough here, and I've got 2 pieces of parchment paper, one to put under, one to put on top. It's easier to roll. I've got a rolling pin, and you're also going to need, for one recipe, 1 muffin tin. For 2 recipes, for like double the recipe, you'll need 2 muffin tins. So I've divided the dough into 3, and I'm going to just place the top parchment paper, and I'm gonna just roll it out. Try to roll it as thin as you can, because the thinner the crust, the case, the lighter the tartlets will come out. Basically try and make it quite thin, but obviously not to the point where it's breaking already. So I think that looks quite nice. And what you're going to need then, you're going to need some kind of a shape. I'm using a glass. So I'm using this glass, and we're going to make as many circles as we can make from this piece here. It's probably going to be 4 or 5 from that one. And basically, just to show you, you put it carefully into, I'll just do it here. You put it carefully in the muffin tin, and you just slide it in, basically a little bit towards the bottom until it's making a nice round shape like this. I'll take the other one, and you basically continue for the rest of them. So I made 22 cases. There's a little bit left over, but we'll bake it, and it's quite tasty anyway. So yeah, this is the most laborious process, making these. It takes a little while, and plus you have to work pretty fast because it starts drying out, the dough starts drying out, and if it does, all I do is I just put my fingers in water and then kind of like moisten the surface of the dough and knead it a little bit, and then you can keep on rolling these. So these are ready. I'm gonna put these in the oven for about 10-12 minutes for them to be baked. I might go as far as 15 minutes to, you know, I'll see when they're baked, when they're starting to kind of dry out and getting a little bit lightly golden. And in the meantime, while the cases are baking, we're going to be making the lemon curd. So I'm going to add the soaked cashews, pour the lemon juice, add the arrowroot and the water, and then the maple syrup as well. So I'm gonna pop the lid on now and gonna blend it for a couple of minutes. So it's been a couple of minutes, and this is looking nice and smooth. And since I've got a Thermomix, I can actually heat this inside of here, but if you don't have it, just pour it into a pan and put it on medium-high heat, or even medium heat probably, and just keep on stirring until it starts bubbling up, and cook it for about 2 minutes. But I'm gonna do this in the Thermomix. Oh, and I forgot to add some turmeric to this as well. So I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric for the golden color. Yeah, so it's thickening up, as you can see. So I'll add the turmeric for that golden color, and gonna blend it up and heat it up a little bit more. So for some reason, the curd doesn't thicken as much as it in the Thermomix as it does on the pan. So I'm gonna just transfer it to a normal pan and kind of heat it up a little bit more so it thickens slightly more. So I've got these out of the oven. It probably took about 17 minutes altogether, and you could start seeing it's starting a little bit of browning action. It's definitely baked now. So I'm gonna leave those for a couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna put them on the cooling racks to cool completely before pouring in the lemon curd. And like I've mentioned, the curd gets much thicker on the hob, so make sure you don't let it burn at the bottom. And the whisk is quite good to make sure it's evenly heating up and all the clumps being broken up. So actually I realized that my curd is not as thick as it normally would be at this point. So what I decided to do, because I think this time I added more maple syrup. Last time I made a single amount, I've put a little bit less maple syrup because I didn't have that much, and I thought it'll probably not need as much. But this time I've done like a full amount, so it's a little bit more liquidy. So I've added 1 tablespoon more extra arrowroot and 1 tablespoon of water, so made like what you call it slurry. Because if you're just gonna put powder into hot liquid, it'll just clump up, so you need to make a slurry with cold water. So 1 tablespoon of arrowroot and 1 tablespoon of water, and I'm gonna just add this in, mix it in and heat it up again, and that should thicken up a bit more. So yeah, so look, it's starting to boil now, so I've heated it through. So I'm gonna now take it off the heat and let it cool down a bit. Time to fill the cases. So the curd is cooling. It's not fully cold yet, so if there's a skin on the top, you can just kind of mix it in there, and we're gonna just fill the cases now. And guys, if you've got remaining curd like I've got here, just store it in a jar in the fridge, and it's delicious on toast. Yum. So normally I would let these set a little bit more until it's more solid. And plus, guys, experiment what kind of thickness and the way you like the set to be on these. So if you like it thicker, then add more arrowroot, tapioca or cornstarch. But let's try this. Oh my goodness, guys. This is so amazing. And like I say, this curd is still liquid at the minute, so it's, wow. The flavor you get from the lemon curd, it's so nice and lemony. Oh my god, you've got to try this. If you do, let me know what you thought of it. I think these are amazing, and I'm looking forward to try the lemon curd on the toast as well. I heard it's delicious. I haven't tried it myself, but I'm really looking forward to, because I've got quite a bit of that lemon curd left. So that's it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. Give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, welcome, and subscribe for more videos just like this with tasty, vegan, delicious, quick and oil-free recipes from me. And remember, food is fuel, so be mindful of what you put in your body. Until next time, guys. See ya.